Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Melodious deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this one for you guys because this deck just got some absolutely broken support out of Legacy of Destruction, taking this deck to a whole new level. I'm super excited to show you guys this list, so without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification to become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name description every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we've been playing 3 copies of our new Pendulum monster, Refrain. This card is definitely a 3 of in the deck because it has an awesome ability. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add a Melodious monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. And if a Melodious fusion monster is special summoned to your field, while this card is face up in your X deck, except during the damage step, you can actually place this card in your Pendulum zone, which is an awesome ability to instantly play this card in your Pendulum zone so that you can go in for Pendulum plays. We then play 3 copies of Couplet. Couplet is great as a 3 of as well, and it's one of our new cards that we just got out of Legacy of Destruction. This card has an awesome ability. If this card is added to your hand, except by drawing it for your normal draw, you can reveal this card in your hand and then special summon a level 4 lower Melodious monster from your hand or grave. And if a Melodious fusion monster is special summoned to your field while this card is faced up in the X deck, you can place this card in your Pendulum zone just like your copy of Refrain, basically setting up your Pendulum skills if you fusion summon, which is absolutely insane. This card is really good as a 3 of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Sonata. Sonata is great as a 3 of as well because this card is just a really good extender that if you control a Melodious monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is actually not a once per turn effect, so you can special summon multiple of these out to your side of the field, which is really cool. Also, when you special summon this card to the field, all fairy type monsters that you control will gain 500 attack and defense, which is a really awesome ability just to boost your monster's attack points. We then play 2 copies of Soprano. Soprano is really good as a 2 of in the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than 2 copies of this card, but it's a really good combo piece that when this card is special summon, you can target a Melodious monster in your graveyard, except another copy of this card, and add it to your hand. And you can only use this effect once per turn. That once per turn, you can actually fusion summon a Melodious fusion monster from your X deck using monsters you control as material, including this card, basically being like a walking polymerization. We then play a single copy of Aria. Aria is really good as a 1 of in the deck, but I don't feel like you need any more than a single copy of this card. And it has the ability that while this special summon card is on the field, Melodious monsters you control cannot be targeted by card effects or be destroyed by battle, which is a really cool effect. We then play a single copy of Cannon. Cannon's also really good as a 1 of in the build. I really like this card in the deck that if you control a Melodious monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can only special summon this card once per turn. And it has the ability also that once per turn, you can actually target a Melodious monster that you control and change its battle position, which is a pretty cool ability to use this card. We then play a single copy of Sopenia. Sopenia is really cool as a 1 of in the deck, and usually if you summon this card out to your side of the field, you're probably just going to win the game with how broken this card actually is. It has the ability once per turn, target a light fairy type monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand, but you cannot activate light monster effects during the turn you activate this effect. But why that's so broken is because you can actually recycle cards like Herald of the Orange Light, which is so cool to be able to do, and I love that about this card, just to give you basically one of your negates back, because Herald of the Orange Light is actually a fairy monster that is a light, so you can recycle it with this card, making this card absolutely broken. We then play 3 copies of Herald of the Orange Light. Herald of the Orange Light is really good as a 3 of in the build, because this card basically stops any monster effect. That when your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can send this card and one of the fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard to negate the activation if you do destroy it, which is crazy powerful to be able to play this card as a 3 of in the build, as it just stops so many card effects. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is definitely a 3 of in the build, just to stop your opponent from touching the deck. We then play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is definitely a 3 of as well, basically just to stop your opponent's monster effects. We then also play 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird. Droll and Lockbird is really cool as a 3 of in the build, to basically just use this card from stopping your opponent from searching for the rest of the turn. So, that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get in to the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start with a single copy of the new Melodious Fusion spell. This card is definitely a one-of in the build and lets you fusion summon a Fairy Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand, field, and or pendulum zones. And if a Melodious Fusion monster is sent to the graveyard while this card's in the grave, even during the damage step, you can place this card on the bottom of the deck and then draw a card, which is an amazing ability to use this card. We then play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good in the deck to be able to pair with cards like your copy of Herald of Orangelight, just to give you basically 4 ways to stop hand traps. It's just really good in the build overall. We then play 3 copies of Ostinato. Ostinato is basically the most broken card in the entire deck. This card is kind of like Branded Fusion, which is absolutely crazy. If you control no monsters, you can fusion summon a Melodious Fusion monster from your extra deck using 2 monsters from your hand and or deck as fusion material, which is really cool because this card is not a once per turn. So if your opponent does stop the first one and you have a second one, you can just immediately activate it, which is why this card is so broken. Also, during the end phase of this turn, destroy the monster fusion summoned by this effect, and if you do, and if all fusion materials were used for this fusion summon are in your graveyard, you can special summon all of them back to your side of the field, which is absolutely broken. This card is definitely a 3 on the deck, and why the deck is so broken. We then play 3 copies of First Movement Solo. This card is really good as a 3-of in the deck, because if you control a monster, you can actually special summon a level 4 lower Melodious monster from your hand or deck to your side of the field, also giving us an E-Telly in archetype, which is absolutely insane. I love this card as a 3-of in the build, and it's just such a powerful card. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. Pot of Prosperity is really good as a 3-of, just to help us dig into the deck for the exact cards we need, like our fusion spells, which is so cool. You always want to be grabbing your copy of Ostinato to be able to go in for our crazy powerful plays. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get in to the traps. So for the traps, we're just going to be playing 3, and that's going to be 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is really good to go along with all of the rest of our hand traps, because this card stops monster effects and also lock down entire columns of spells and traps. It's a really good 3-of in the build and just helps out a lot overall. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, guys, we're going to start off with 2 copies of our new boss monster, the Flowering Melodious. This card is amazing. It's actually based on Yugioh from the anime, which is so cool. I love that about this card. It does require a Melodious Maestro monster plus 2 Melodious monsters to make this card, but it's absolutely broken. That quick effect, you can banish until the end of the next turn any number of Melodious monsters that you control. Then you can return up to that many face of cards your opponent controls back to the hand, which is a really cool interruption to be able to use with this card. It also has the ability, if this face-up fusion summon card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon a Melodious monster from your deck or extra deck except another copy of this card, which is an insane ability that just replaces itself with any card that you want. We then play 3 copies of Baka. Baka is amazing as a 3-of. This card is a card you're going to be fusion summoning out all the time in this deck, and it's just a really awesome 3-of with the ability that just takes 2 Melodious monsters to be able to make this card. And also, while you control this fusion summon card, the activated effects of your Melodious Fusion monsters cannot be negated, which is a really awesome ability for this card to have to make sure that you're protected for your fusion plays. Also has the ability, if this card is special summoned, you can special summon a Melodious monster from your deck to your side of the field, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Melodious monster in your graveyard and special summon Defense Solution. So this card is just going to give you protection and special summon Melodious monsters to your side of the field like crazy. We then play 2 copies of Shiberta. Shiberta is really cool as a 2-of in the deck. I don't feel like you need any more than 2 of this card. It has the ability during either player's turn, you can target up to 3 cards in any graveyard and banish them, and if you do, this card gains 2 attack for each. And this can only be used once while this card's face on the field, but it's really good just to deal with cards in your opponent's graveyard. We then play a single copy of Bloom Prima. Bloom Prima is really good as a 1-of in the build, and this card has the ability it gains 300 attack for each fusion material used for this card's fusion summon, and this card can make a second attack during each battle phase. And if this fusion summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Melodious monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, which is a pretty cool effect to get the exact card you need back out of the grave. We then play a single copy of Bloom Diva. Bloom Diva is really cool as a 1-of in the deck, and I really like this card just as a 1-of in the build because it has the ability cannot be destroyed by battle or by card effect. Also, you take no battle damage from attacks involving this card, and if this card battles a special summon monster, after damage calculation, you inflict damage to your opponent equal to the difference between the original attack of that opponent's monster and this card. If you do, destroy that opponent's monster, which is a really cool effect just to do damage to the opponent with this awesome fusion monster. I really like this card in the deck. You don't summon it all that often, but it's really cool as an addition to be able to summon as an option. We then play a single copy of Chaos Angel because Chaos Angel is just ridiculously easy to summon in this deck. It's a really good option to be able to make because you don't actually have to use a tuner to make this card. You can just basically use light monsters or dark monsters to make this card. If you put light monsters into this card, then synchro monsters you control are unaffected by monsters' activated effects by your opponent, which is a really cool ability. We then play a single copy of Sky Crisis Typhon. Typhon is just so easy to summon out in this deck. It's really easy to put on your side of the field, basically in any deck, and it's just a good option to be able to make. We then play 2 copies of the Link monster, the Melodious Link monster, which is just a awesome card to be able to play as a 2-of. As if this card is Link summon, you can actually discard a card and then special summon 2 Melodious monsters with different levels from your deck to zones this card points to in defense position, which is a really cool ability just to instantly get them out on your side of the field. And it's just insane that this card instantly gives you 2 monsters on your side of the field. We then also play a single copy of Protector of the Agent's Moon. This card is just a really good 1-of in the deck because it has a really awesome ability that basically, if this card is Link Summon, you can actually send the Sanctuary in the Sky or one card that mentions it from the deck to the graveyard, or the Sanctuary Sky is on the field or any of the graveyard. You can add Agent of Earth to your hand from your graveyard. But the main effect we use on this card is that you tribute a fairy monster, then target one card your opponent controls and destroy it, basically popping a card on the field, almost like a copy of Donner, which is really cool. And then finally, we play a single copy of SP Little Knight. SP Little Knight is really good as a double interruption for the deck. You don't have to play this card. You can play a copy of Baguska instead because it's pretty easy to put level 4s on the field. So you can change this card out for Baguska if you want to for a more budget option. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Melodious before, you should definitely give this deck a try. It's very, very fun to be able to play now, especially with all the new amazing support. They really fixed the deck and made it absolutely crazy. They may have made it too crazy because it's been topping, and it's just really, really fun to be able to play. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.